The Last Passenger, Part 2, Return of the Fog. He used to think he'd escaped that bus. He was wrong. Ethan had been standing in the middle of the road when the fog finally lifted. The headlights of a passing car sliced through the haze, blinding him for an instant, then the world was suddenly normal again. Empty highway. Silence. No bus, no driver, no dead passengers. Just Ethan, trembling, clutching his backpack like it was the only real thing left. He staggered home that night convinced he dreamt it all, until the mud-streaked keys appeared on his kitchen counter. They were the same ones the eyeless driver had dropped at his feet. That's where it begins again. For days, Ethan didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw rows of empty seats and the reflection of the drenched woman standing behind him. The sound of wet footsteps echoed through his mind like a heartbeat. He told himself it was trauma. Hallucinations. But when he tried to throw the keys away, they always reappeared somewhere close, under his pillow, inside his jacket pocket, even once clenched in his own sleeping hand. Tonight, the fog returned. It crept along the street outside his apartment like smoke leaking from a dying world. Street lights dimmed, one after another, until only the pale glow from his phone lit the room. Ethan stood at the window, heart hammering. Down below, the outline of a double-decker bus waited at the curb. No passengers. Engine idling softly. The display above the windshield blinked the same route number as before, 999, last stop. Ethan whispered to himself, "No, you're not real." The horn blared. Every sound in the apartment died. The fridge, the clock, the hum of traffic, gone. Only the slow hiss of the bus doors opening reached his ears. He should have run. Instead, something pulled him. The same invisible tug that had dragged him back the first time. His legs moved without permission. By the time he realized he'd left the apartment, the building was already lost behind a wall of mist. The bus doors yawned open like the mouth of something ancient. Inside, the driver sat perfectly still. Same uniform. Same burnt skin. No eyes. Just darkness where a face should be. The voice came from the speaker above the windshield. "Ticket, please." Ethan swallowed. I don't have one." "Then you'll pay another way." The door slammed shut. The bus lurched forward. He stumbled into a seat as the city outside vanished, swallowed whole by the fog. The street lights melted into streaks of light like dying stars. For a moment he could see nothing but gray. Then faint outlines began to appear, not buildings, not trees, faces, hundreds of them, pressed against the windows from the outside, whispering his name. Ethan turned to the aisle. The seats were no longer empty. Every one of them was filled with pale passengers, heads tilted, mouths open but silent. Their eyes tracked him as the bus rattled through the endless void. He knew some of those faces, a woman from his building, a child he'd seen at the market, even the man who ran the corner shop. All of them were dead now. He pressed himself back against the seat. "Why me?" A soft voice answered from the seat across the aisle. "Because you took his place." It was the drenched woman. Her hair hung like seaweed, dripping onto the floor that was slowly flooding with water. She smiled faintly. "You drove them home." "I didn't, I never drove," he shouted. "But you will." The driver turned his eyeless head halfway, bones cracking like branches. "Time to begin your route, Ethan." The steering wheel started spinning on its own. The bus picked up speed, tires shrieking. Outside, the fog thinned for a heartbeat, and Ethan saw they were no longer on any road. Beneath them was a vast black ocean. Waves slapped at the wheels. Something huge moved beneath the surface. He ran for the door, slamming his hands against the button. It didn't open. He grabbed the window, tried to smash it, but instead of glass, his fingers met something soft. Flesh. The windows paused beneath his palms like living skin. The drenched woman stood now in the aisle, head tilted, eyes whipping black water. "The route never ends," she whispered. "But you can change it." "How?" She reached into her chest and pulled out a rusted key identical to the ones that haunted him. unlocked the way back. The bus jerked, throwing her forward. Her body hit the floor and splashed into ankle-deep water that was rising fast. The other passengers began to dissolve, their faces melting into the mist. The driver's voice turned into a guttural roar. "No one leaves." Ethan lunged toward the steering wheel, grabbing it with both hands. The metal burned his skin, but he held on. The fog outside churned like a storm. Shapes twisted inside it, arms, teeth, shadows of people drowning mid-scream. The drenched woman's voice echoed around him. "Turn it around." He spun the wheel. The bus screeched. The lights burst one by one, plunging everything into darkness. When the last bulb died, the sound of water stopped. Silence. Ethan opened his eyes. The bus wasn't moving anymore. The passengers were gone. The floor was dry. He was alone. He stood slowly, breathing hard, and looked around. Every seat was empty, except the driver's. The driver was gone, too. In his place, a mirror hung from the ceiling where the windshield should have been. Ethan saw his own reflection staring back at him, wearing the driver's cap. His hands were still on the steering wheel, but they weren't his. The skin was gray, cracked, fingers long and thin like bones. He screamed and staggered backward, crashing into the seats. His reflection smiled. A voice behind him whispered, "Shift change." Ethan spun around, no one there. When he turned back, the mirror was gone. Outside, dawn had broken. The fog was thinning. Through the windows he saw the faint outline of a rural road, green hills beyond. For the first time, sunlight touched the seats. Maybe he'd done it. Maybe he was free. He stumbled down the aisle toward the doors. They opened automatically. Warm air hit his face. Grass, wind, birdsong, real life. He laughed in relief and stepped out. But the ground wasn't solid. His foot sank straight through it like water. He looked down and saw his reflection rippling beneath him, staring up with red eyes. The sky dimmed instantly. The world peeled away in layers of mist. He was still on the bus. But now the outside had changed, black sky, no horizon, only swirling fog and distant lights like lanterns under an endless sea. The steering wheel moved again, this time on its own. The bus began driving downward. He ran to the driver's seat, yelling, "Stop. Please stop." A whisper came from the radio, "All routes end below." The drenched woman reappeared beside him, half transparent. "He can't hear you anymore," she said. "You took his place when you picked up the keys." "I never wanted them," Ethan shouted. "That doesn't matter. The route wants a soul. One drives, the rest follow." The bus plunged deeper into the fog. Outside, ghostly shapes floated past, whole rows of old buses drifting silently like coffins underwater. Some had shattered windows, others were empty husks with frozen passengers still inside. "Where does it go?" he asked. Her answer was barely audible. "To the last stop. Always the last stop." He looked back, the aisle was filling again. The passengers had returned, but their faces were different this time. They were him, dozens of Ethans, each with slightly different expressions. Some screamed. Some smiled. One pressed his hand to the window and mouthed the words, "Wake up." Ethan clawed at his face, desperate to tear away whatever illusion this was. The drenched woman grabbed his wrist. Her grip was ice. "You can't wake up," she said. "You already did." The bus lights flickered again, and every version of him in the seats turned their heads at once. In perfect unison, they whispered, "Drive." He fell into the driver's seat, sobbing, clutching the rusted key still in his hand. The keyhole on the dashboard pulsed faintly, as if breathing. He hesitated. If he turned it, maybe the bus would stop. Maybe it would finally end. He turned it. The engine roared, a scream of metal and souls. The fog outside tore open, revealing a colossal figure standing in the void, a bus made of bones, its windows filled with faces screaming silently. The drenched woman smiled faintly. "You found the terminal." The bus lurched forward toward the monstrous shape. Ethan screamed, fighting the wheel, but his arms no longer obeyed him. The veins beneath his skin turned black. His reflection in the windshield grinned wider, eyes hollow, identical to the eyeless driver's. The drenched woman leaned close, whispering, "It's your turn now." The bus slammed into the bone structure, and everything went white. Ethan woke sitting upright in a driver's seat. The fog was gone. The bus was empty again. Through the windshield, he could see a faint road stretching endlessly ahead under a starless sky. The radio crackled to life. Route 999. Next stop. London. He tried to stand, but his body wouldn't move. He looked down, his hands were skeletal, gripping the wheel. The uniform fit perfectly. He screamed, but no sound came out. Only the hiss of the door opening behind him. Footsteps. Wet, dragging footsteps. A passenger climbed aboard. Ethan's voice, no longer his own, came automatically. "Ticket, please." The doors hissed shut. The bus pulled away into the fog. And this time, he didn't look back. Would you take that ride, or wait in the dark? Comment your choice below, and subscribe for the next journey into The Last Passenger, Part 3, The Terminal Route.